Hey, how's it going? I'm IlaGolden and welcome to my vlog. Alright, okay, so on this one we're going to be talking about endings and beginnings, or beginnings and endings. So what I kind of want to talk about here is how I deal with starting a story, because I know that's something that some writers do struggle with, and how I deal with ending a story, which is actually something that I find more difficult. I'm not sure if that's a common thing for writers to find difficult, but I struggle more with ending a story than I do with starting a story, and I apologise if there's a lot of noise in this one. My gorgeous little gerbil girls are awake and are being very noisy right now. They're adorable, but yeah, if you can hear them, I do apologise. Yeah. But now's the time of the day I've decided I'm going to record this, so yeah, I'm just going to go with it. Okay, so I think I want to talk about ending a story first rather than talking about how I go about beginning a story, because for me that's the bit that I do tend to find more difficult. When I sort of start writing a story, when I sort of get into writing a story, I don't necessarily have it all planned out. I certainly have a lot of it planned out. I certainly know who my characters are, who I think they are. I certainly have an idea of the direction I want the story to go in. I will know certain moments and certain scenes that I am desperately looking forward to, but I don't necessarily know where the story is going to end. So I can, and I quite often do. Certainly, when I first started writing, I would begin lots and lots and lots and lots of stories, and just get partway through and be like, I don't know where this is going anymore. I don't know how to end this. I'm certainly a lot better now at ending a story. Certainly, by the time I reach the halfway mark, we'll have a good idea as to where it's going to end. Even if I don't know the exact details, I know this is roughly how the story is going to end. This is roughly how things are going to turn out. And it's just a matter of getting to that point. And sometimes in the process of getting to that point, you find that certain things change, and the ending then has to adapt and change, and based on all those various different things. So yeah, I think part of the reason I find it so hard to end a story is because I don't necessarily know exactly where the story is going to end. I might have a good idea. I might have like an initial concept of where things are heading, but I don't necessarily know what the ending is until I kind of reach it quite a lot of the time. This was something when I was writing the tales, and yes, of course I'm going to bring up the tales again, because everybody should know by now the tales are my absolute baby, or at least one of them. So yeah, with each book within the Tales saga, as I sort of went on, I got a better and better idea, certainly up till the end of book 8, of where the overall story was going, where each individual story was going, and that made it a lot easier. So when I did come to the end of the 8th book, I knew how that book was going to end. I didn't necessarily have it all plotted out like moment for moment, but I knew this was going to happen, and this was going to happen, and then this was going to happen, and then you'd reach the end of that initial part of the Tale saga. And then when I got into the second part of the Tale saga, the Next Generation, so books 9 to 15, certainly, I would like to say certainly book 9, I kind of knew where it was going, but I'm not entirely sure that I did. I probably had a better idea of where I was going with that one than I did for the rest of the series. Although I think maybe I'd love to say book 9 and book 10 probably had the most. They have the most complete individual arcs, and then after that, everything kind of rolls into the next book. And I think you can sort of then, this is one of the things that kind of happens when I start sort of writing a long series rather than, just a short series or a series of connected smaller books or an individual book, which I don't tend to do very often, is I sort of get to a point where the stories sort of start rolling into each other, and instead of being something that you can sort of like pick up and kind of know what was going on and it had sort of like a conclusion to it, it kind of rolls into each other. And it was very, very good, very, very sharp, very, very tight in like the first part of the Tale Saga, which is I think why I sort of like kind of go, yeah, that's the better bit of the Tale Saga, because each individual book can be taken as an individual book, and there are just sort of like bits that kind of carry through, and you kind of understand it better if you read it all, but you get a good idea of what's going on, and the story within the book is complete and is set. And then you've got books 9 and 10, which kind of have that. But 9 definitely, because there's a time gap, another time jump between like 9 and 10. So you get a time jump from 8 to 9, and then you get a time jump from 9 to 10. So 9 definitely has its own very complete, very tight little story, and I think 10 kind of does as well, but it starts as sort of the role for the rest of the series, where the story doesn't quite end at the end, and it kind of all sort of ties together, and it's sort of more of an overarching storyline through those books, rather than each individual book having a nice tight little storyline in it. But it is all to do with the difficulty I have sometimes with ending a story. And the more I kind of know where the story is going, the more I sort of know it's got to reach this bit, and then once it reaches this bit, that's kind of the climax. The tighter the endings kind of become, and the easier it is for me to sort of get there and to sort of finish the book and to end the book. And the more I'm kind of like, well, this is sort of vaguely the direction the book is heading in, but I'm not 100% where the ending is, the more loopy and loose the themes are. Well, the themes remain tight, but the more open-ended things sort of become, and that's when I sort of end up writing these big, long, epic, fantasy type things that roll into each other, and there's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of my longer series have sort of tightness at the beginning that kind of dissipates into books rolling into each other towards the end, and whether or not that's a good thing is entirely dependent on your point of view. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I mean, I know I sort of said that I think the first part of the Tale Saga is the better part, and that is the tighter part. But a lot of that is to do with the fact that that's the part I'm most passionate about. That's the part that I feel has the most emotional weight to it. They're the characters you kind of deal with the most, and when you sort of like deal with the next generation stuff, and it's sort of a lot more teenage drama-y than the first bit was. There's nothing sort of wrong with that, but I think because I was sort of trying to write a grander narrative and not really knowing where that narrative was going, that's sort of where the dissonance sort of happens with that part of it. And I think, yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I've written some great series that have that sort of open-ended flow into each book, where they are very heavily interconnected and it is a more continuous story, and they've worked really well. But you'll probably find I had more of an idea of where everything was going. And it's just a case of it's just taking longer to get to the ending than I think it was going to. And I think yeah, that's what kind of happens with my writing sometimes, is that I'm having so much fun on the journey and getting to the ending. If I'm not 100% sure where that ending is, I do struggle a little bit. Whereas if I've got a more clear idea of where that ending is, even if I don't necessarily know how I'm getting there and it takes me longer to get there, the clearer an idea I have of that ending, the tighter everything sort of becomes, and it flows a lot better. And when I reach the ending, I know I've reached the ending, and I sort of conclude it a lot better. But it all comes down to whether or not I know where the story is going. And sometimes it's fun not to know, and other times it's kind of like, okay, I do need to know where this is going, because this is getting ridiculously long now. and I will use the project that I'm working on at the moment as kind of a little bit of an example of this, is I do know where the end of this story is, but I don't know how to get there. And I'm sort of in this whole looping of character stuff at the moment where it's good, you're getting to know the characters, you're getting to know the players, things are progressing and moving forward. It's not like the story is stagnating at all. Things are happening, things are progressing, but the pace is really slow. And I'm kind of like, yeah, probably when I go back and edit it, a lot of this will tighten up and go, and I will just keep like the bits that you absolutely need and in order to keep the story going. But at the same time, it's kind of like, I still don't know how I'm getting from this point that I'm at now to that point that I need to be to end this story. And it's that's, as I said, it's that can be the difficulty sometimes when it comes to me and ending the story. Sometimes I'll have a really clear idea, but I'll have no idea how I'm supposed to get there, and other times I'll have no idea, but actually getting there is really, easy. So yeah, so that's probably all I want to say about endings. I probably contradicted myself a little bit in amongst that, but that's just how my brain works. It kind of figures things out sometimes as I'm saying them. So let's go on to the other side of this coin, beginnings. I love starting a new story. I will, for weeks, like towards the end of a project that I'm working on, I sort of feel like that project's coming to the end, and sometimes even before I feel like it's actually coming to the end, I will start getting ideas into my head for what my next project is going to be. And sometimes it might be just like an idea of an opening scene, and that'll be like the first thing that I'll get. And sometimes it might be like, oh, this is a really interesting character. I wonder what their story is and wonder what's going on with them. And yeah, so for me, beginning a story is always exciting. It's always fun. By the time I actually come to write that first sentence or that first paragraph, I've already had it planned out in my head for a good few weeks, if not months. So for me, when I actually finally get that chance to actually sit down and start writing a new project, it's the most exciting moment within the story, and or at least the most exciting moment within the writing process. There'll be more exciting moments within the story because there'll be like so many scenes. I'll be like, oh, I can't wait to get to this scene. I can't wait to get to that scene. How am I going to get there? What am I going to do? And it's just, it's a matter of process. It's a matter of getting through things, and it's exciting. So at the moment, even though I'm still no idea how much longer I've got left of the project that I'm writing on, because I still haven't quite worked out how I'm going to get from where I am now to the end. I've already got like so many moments plotted out in the next book that I just really, really want to start writing that one, and it's really hard for me to kind of go, no, I can't stop the project that I'm working on just to start writing another project, because I do still care about the project that I'm currently writing. I do, I am invested enough in that project and have been for a good few years. I think at this point, good year at this point at least, I've been invested in this current project. So I kind of owe it to the story to finish the story, even if I really, really, really want to start the next project. And I know there's nothing to stop me writing two things alongside each other, but I prefer not to do that. I used to, be able to balance out multiple projects at the same time, but I don't have the time or the energy anymore, so I would rather just stick with the project that I'm working on, and let's just see. Let's just try to get it to where it needs to go. So yeah, like beginning any new project for me is the most exciting thing, and I do look forward to it, and I look forward to it more if I've got like so many ideas, and more so again if I kind of have a very clear idea of like the whole story, or if I've got a lot of the story plotted out and and whatever else, and it's good. It's fun and it's exciting. um, but yeah, I think that's all I have to say on this right now. I hope you guys have found this one interesting. Next time I want to sort of start a new mini run of connected vlogs where I'm sort of talking very specifically about particular projects, and don't worry, the Tail Saga is not one of them. I think I mentioned the Tail Saga enough. But yeah, there are a few projects, including my current one, that I sort of want to talk a little bit more about for various reasons. And the one I'm going to focus on next time is going to be the Realms and Reality series. So that should be quite fun, I think. Maybe. Alright, so I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. I hope you're looking forward to the next one, and I will see you next time. See ya! If you've enjoyed this video, feel free to check out some of my others, and if you like what you see, please like and subscribe. See ya!